last 7 years, I've been in a lot of meetings about this building and been dreaming about this building and how it can be transformed. So it's been an exciting time to kind of watch changes occur. We knew that we needed to make a major renovation of Pendleton West, and I was teaching actively in Pendleton West and understood a lot of the issues that all of us together had been dealing with in terms of teaching and trying to teach studio art safely. And we were also very aware that for the making and doing kinds of arts here at Wellesley, that we needed to take into account more of the new and emerging media and link that with different kinds of traditional methods that we were already covering. So this gave us a chance to look fresh at how to make a building come alive in a new way, and we wanted to honor the history and the legacy of the arts at Wellesley and also of the landscape of this place, but we also wanted to make sure that we could plan for the future and for different kinds of processes and ideas and methods of working that might not be something we could envision in detail at this point. So the building's meant to be very flexible and very much a building for making and doing. The building was built in the 30s, and it's Pendleton East and West, and Pendleton East was renovated in around year 2000, and so Pendleton West was originally built as, the building was initially the Science Center here. And it's been functioning as swing space for since about the 1970s. And when I moved here in the mid-90s, we had studio art, Japanese education taught in this section of the building. And the music salon was here as well. So by emptying out the building as a whole and starting again fresh, now we can really safely present all these different kinds of methods and opportunities for students to work in the studios off hours. And we've also been able to expand for music in a whole new kind of way. We now have a rehearsal hall for the orchestra and for the choir, and we have a whole new music salon for chamber concerts and lessons. So it brings the arts together in a new way, especially the sound and moving arts together with the visual arts. And we're really excited about the kinds of collaborations that are starting to happen between faculty and certainly in the student body right now. Almost everything is new. It's really, when you look here on the quad, when you look at the building, it looks like the old building, and it is the outer facade, but we went right down to just the columns and the support structure, and everything is new inside. And I think the architect will tell you more about that, but we really did take the building right down to its roots and then rebuild. So the HVAC systems and all of the ventilation for studio processes are brand new. Certainly the flow of the building and how you move through the different kinds of spaces, that's all been considered now for the kinds of work that we do in the building. For example, on the second floor, it's open studio plan, so we've got painting and drawing and different courses that depend on north light are very carefully considered which studios use, or which studio courses use certain studio spaces that have north light. We've got these beautiful big old windows that we wanted to preserve. We moved the printmaking studio and expanded it upstairs on the third floor, and it's now connected to new media practices. We've got a lighting studio that's 4 times the size of what we had before, digital editing suites as well. So the integration of new and old processes is much easier. And then down in the first floor, we've expanded sculpture. It's definitely more than twice the size it was. And we've kept a bronze foundry, expanded different forms of woodshop work, metal studio. We had a paper making facility, and we've kept that and expanded it to include screen print as well. So those are that's the media that we're making possible for students. But what we really cared a lot about was how students would move through the building safely, but also how they would collaborate and how they would be able to work introspectively on solitary projects as well as group projects. And we see that as something really important in the arts, how students work together, how they learn to collaborate and share ideas, envision things that they hadn't seen before. That's a critical part of art making. And it's also, I think, a really critical part of art making on a liberal arts campus. Like, how does an undergraduate student really learn to kind of understand themselves and communicate with each other, particularly in a place like Wellesley, which is so international, and students come with all kinds of vantage points and possibilities and really big horizons. How do they bring that down to a studio project that's here and now in very tangible form? I think it's been exciting to include the students in our thinking and designing process, and to include their problem solving and awareness in how the space works, how their own workflow works, how they're affected by being in different kinds of spaces. They're very responsive to this. In fact, the very first weekend it was open, I think many of them spent all night working away in the building. It was so exciting for them to really be able to control their own time and space in that way. The building is ADA compliant in a way that wasn't before, so we can get into all four levels of the building now, and there's a beautiful walkway across the top of the third floor, which gives a beautiful view out to the Arboretum as well. And when the leaves are down, you can see all the way to the new labyrinth that was recently built by students in the summer, or in the spring. So that's been really exciting to really experience inside and outside in this space. All the more important when we do a lot of things that are digital that could have us really, looking into our screen and not looking up. This building really does encourage you to look up and look out at times and take breaks in a way that's much more healthy. We talked a lot about sustainability, not only in terms of recycling and whatnot, which is important, but also just thinking about sustainable habits of creative work. Like, how do you work together? How do you generate new ideas? Not in a desperate last-minute kind of mode, but how do you actually work with the process of the whole body in motion? We want to open up the footprint of the inside of the building as much as possible. And so we got rid of hallways, we got rid of doors in some cases, we got rid of a lot of offices. I think 9 faculty offices came out of the building to try to make more space. So it doesn't take up more of a footprint on the campus, especially in this really iconic part of the campus, the academic quad. But it does make use of the building and the possibilities inside of that footprint in some really interesting ways. And it feels so much bigger now. So when you drive in and you see the big gray cube, you might think it seems rather monolithic from the outside, and then as you travel through and around the spaces, you can see it's very, very permeable, and there are these wonderful slits and vantage points that I looked at all the plans very carefully. I know how to read architectural plans, and I did not see that coming. It was just really, it's been such a pleasure to kind of to glimpse these moments in time, especially now that the landscape is here. So one of the big pushes was, thanks to Isabella Fine, we had the opportunity to invite Bandaloop here to dance in the building. And so we've got dancers who are on the outside of the new addition, and they're here on Friday and Saturday, performing 3 times during those days, 12:30, 2:30, and 4:30. That's free and open to everyone. It's also really fun to watch the rehearsals as well. And when we talked about inviting them here, we really wanted to play with something that would change our perspective about the building. And as you see the dancers on the building, you do experience the scale of it in a different kind of way. And there's something just so exhilarating about watching a body really respond to a vertical surface in that way and defy gravity in that way that I think is a good metaphor for us in terms of what we're doing when we take on work that we don't know where it's going, but we can trust we're going to land in a certain kind of way.